Okay, now we have Shades of Grey, the final episode of TNG Season 2. At least the final one I hadn't done yet. I don't remember. Anyway, that's not important. This is a rare occasion where TNG did a clip show. Star Trek in general doesn't do clip shows very often. I mean, flashbacks to previous episodes are a thing they do, but usually not clip shows. And while this does have new stuff, I mean, this thing I don't believe they put in a previous episode. But even with the new stuff, the episode is focused on old stuff. And you have stuff like this really interesting picture of the planet they visit during the episode. I mean, Geordi looks fascinated because, oh yeah, that's right, he's really not into the whole nature thing. I mean, it's not like he hates nature, but, you know, he just kind of looks bored. Like, yes, more plants. Some of which are toxic and shouldn't be touched by anyone, ever. Anyways, if this planet looks familiar, well, yeah, it has a very, very strong similarity to the location they were shooting for the Tarchanin episode, where Geordi gets turned into a frogman. Not sure it's actually the same location, but it looks a lot like it. Anyways, why were they here? Yeah, that's actually an interesting question. They're just exploring. It's like, yes, this is a planet that needs to have a closer look done of it. Because why not? Well, the only interesting thing they find is this thing that infects Riker. This is an obviously fake plant, but it is an interesting example of them trying to make something that looks properly alien. Light brown bark with a big bright blue thorn sticking out of it. Anyway, so the Riker gets sick and needs to somehow feel intense feelings of fear and anger in order to kill the microbes that have started infesting his body with and are threatening to kill him, because these microbes like to attach to your nerve cells and they are slowly starting to smother his nervous system. Well, that's a very sci-fi sort of an illness because, hey, it's an illness that while it'll kill you if you don't find the proper treatment, it'll just go away magically if you find the proper treatment. Yay. Anyway, so what would I do with this for a TTRPG? Because quite frankly, most of what I just said doesn't sound like it would be a good option for a TTRPG. And after thinking about it for quite a good bit, I did actually think of something that would be a good way to use this. And that would be to have Riker play the part of an NPC. So, while the players in the story have to find a way to handle the problem that's affecting Riker, the players don't play as Riker. They play as the medical staff and science whatever, trying to find a method to save him. And, you know, the success or failure of the game is based solely on whether or not Riker lives. Because, quite frankly, in theory, you could have one player play Riker and the rest of them do other things, but playing Riker would be boring. And there's not actually a whole lot else going on in this episode. See, because most of the actual bulk of the episode is the various hallucinations Riker goes on. Many of which are basically just lifted straight from previous episodes. Because, again, instead about it being a clip show, it talks about and looks at all of these things which aren't actually in this episode. Only Riker's memory of them is in this episode. Which is something that you could have for a TTRPG, though, is the whole idea of like, oh, hey, this guy is not doing so well. And you could actually have the players act out the memories. It's just that you need to either come up with an explanation for why the players are using their own characters in the memories, or just let the players assume the roles of various entities that aren't players. I mean, you could do that. But you would need to have pre-made character sheets so that you can just hand the players like, oh, here's the character you're playing right now. Which, again, could be done. It's less obviously a good idea than the other option, but it is an option, to be sure. Anyway, though, definitely a sort of episode you could find something to use in, although the bulk of this episode just isn't usable. So you would get ideas from it, because obviously whichever NPC you're going to have, it's probably not going to be Riker, and it's also going to have a different set of events that are the bad memories you have to revisit. So, overall, certain vague ideas you could swipe from this, but the bulk of the episode, probably better off not. Alrighty then. Well, that's enough about this one.